welcome to the Espace Tricot podcast.
I'm Stephanie.
I'm Naomi, and we are a yarn store in Montreal. Snowy Montreal. We've had our first big snowfall, and it's really getting us in the mood for all the knits, if we weren't before, because we're always in the mood for all the knits.
Yes, and the sound of snow plows going by outside and seeing the trees bent over with the weight of snow on them is so nice. It definitely feels like the season.
Yeah, check in with us in a month or so as to whether we're still feeling that way, but there's something magical about the first real snowfall.
I know, it's lovely. Yeah. This is sort of probably our last podcast of the year.
Yeah, so we've packed it in with lots of goodies and treats for things coming up, and so check out the notes down below. We've time-stamped various subjects within this episode, so if you want to skip around a bit and jump to the parts that you think might be more interesting to you in what might be a bit of a longer episode, take a look down below. I was going to say downstairs. Yes,
downstairs. So should I address the hair in the room before we go on? So I have new hair. I just bought it. I feel like Ariana when I say that. So I think several episodes back, I sort of talked about my hair struggles, and I got so many really, really nice comments back. Thank you so much for everybody who was like, go for it, you look great. I bought myself some new to me
it's fantastic
hair, and it's a little funny, right? Because it's so different. Yeah, I think I have something I think here that actually feels pretty natural, and I took this to my stylist and I showed him pictures of me at 25 and also Eva Mendes and J-Lo, and was somewhere between those two is what I'm looking for. A little bit of fantasy and a little bit I just want to look like me.
I know it's a different look for you, but already just the few hours we've been hanging out today, it's just become completely
normal.
Just natural, normal stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm getting used to it. If you see me poking at it, it's probably because I'm still getting used to it. But that's all I'm going to say about that. But I just wanted to say, again, thanks to everybody who was so supportive when I was talking about it before. But now let's get on to the hair of sheep versus the hair on my head. What are we going to start with today?
Well, let's dive right into it with what we're wearing.
Okay. Can I go first?
Yes, please.
So this was my whip last episode. This is the composition book by Naomi Endicott. And this sweater is in our upcoming book, Knits from the LYS.
Yeah, now I can hold the sign.
Yep. So this is our book that's coming out in just 9 days.
Something like that.
Yeah, 10 days, something like that.
I think when this podcast goes up, on Friday as planned, it'll be a week.
Yeah, it's really exciting. We still don't actually have it in our hot little hands, but it's winging its way to us now.
Yes, we've seen a little video. It's being delivered, I believe, all over the world to all the yarn stores that have just been so amazing and supportive in bringing it in. So we're just thrilled. We're so excited.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a couple of patterns from the book, but also lots of other things. But so from the first time I saw Naomi's sketch for this, where she's this is the margin on a composition book, I was I want to put writing on mine. So I put LYS, which is part of the title of our book, Knits from the LYS.
LYS meaning local yarn store. It's an acronym that's become increasingly used, I think, a lot online forums and Instagram has kind of contributed to its success, but I do like how the local yarn store has become so iconic that it needs
its own acronym. Yeah. So I just, I added the lettering with crochet the same way that you add the stripe of crochet here. And Naomi's design has 2, and I might go back and add a second one, but I was so eager to just get going on the writing part that I was I just want to get it on. And I love how it turned out. But also what's nice is that it'd be pretty easy to unpick and change it up if I want to. But my kind of dream was that I'd be wearing my LYS sweater when we go out on the road to promote the book. And sort of tie it back to the title. So I love it. It's super comfy. I'm wearing it with one of my cute little plaid shirts, but it's also got a nice neckline that would be lovely without a shirt underneath it. But on a cold day like today, I was I need something else.
I kept it as a pretty classic crew neck. I don't love really wide necklines. I like feeling I don't have to worry about what I'm wearing under my sweater. That is usually my
your go-to.
My go-to.
Yeah, it really,
motivation.
Really I'll pull my beautiful hair back to sort of show how much of my shirt you're seeing. But I was saying to Naomi that working on this, I really mastered a technique that I have occasionally done, but usually skip, which is the tubular bind off. So there's tubular bind off here at the cuff and at the neckline. And it really was worth the effort to just get this beautiful finish that's super elastic. Stretches really well. When I'm pulling this over my head, it's not tight at all, but it snaps right back into place.
Yeah, I always think it's worth doing a tubular bind off. I usually, I mean, I always do it on my cuffs now, and I have a couple of sweaters where I didn't, because I made them, I don't know, a couple years ago or whatever, and I wasn't really thinking about it, or I thought the cuff wasn't particularly fitted, so it didn't need it, and I just wanted to be done. But it bugs me on those sweaters.
Because you can feel...
I can feel it gripping when I sort of pull up to bracelet length, and it irks me. And it's a tricky thing to go back and redo, because by the time you've worn a sweater for a while, you know, those cuff stitches, they really settle in. They don't felt, but you know how hard it is to frock something
those first couple of rows,
blocking, after wearing for quite a while, especially on a bind off. So I don't know, I always do it for my cuffs now. It's just so much more comfortable to wear, and because this is a bottom up sweater, you need something stretchy on the neckline, especially so that it's going to be comfortable getting over your head, and also that doesn't look flared. So that's also why I really like tubular bind off. It mimics the, I think I may have talked about this before in previous podcasts, but it does mimic the look of a machine knit bind off, so it just looks so professional too.
Yeah.
But it's one of those,
well, I think it's one of those things where I hadn't done it enough to feel like I had it memorized. So I was always like, oh, I have to go look it up. I want to bind off. I want to be finished. Yeah. But taking the time, and now I think I have it memorized to the point where I might need to look it up again next time. But once I see it, I'll be like, oh, yeah. I've got it.
It's effectively grafting in terms of how you're moving. You like knit on, purl off.
Yeah. But that's something I have to look up every time as well, is grafting. So they're just these techniques that I don't use enough, that they're just embedded. But this really helped me get over that hump. So
there you go.
Thank you.
Yay, you're welcome.
So yeah, I'm very, very pleased with this, and you'll see me in it a lot. If you come to any of our events, I'll probably be wearing it.
And this is in the Jolly DK Steph used for her version, the undyed color sweatshirt along with graphite gray.
And then this is the maraschino that I had a little bit left over.
Playing around with
it.
And
okay, so give me this, and then you talk about that.
This is the Gala sweater, and it starts with an I-cord neckline, which has... Wait, I'll do the whole back reveal in a second, but it's a really quite basic top-down raglan. Here, I'll stand up. Quite boxy, and there are decreases through the sleeves, but it's intentionally a bit looser. It has an I-cord bind off at the edge too, but the main event is if I do a little twirl, and here's the back. So it has a little keyhole neckline, and you work down to the sleeve split, and then that's where the party starts. So the main body is worked at a DK weight gauge. So I held together our Bon Tricot Happy and Bon Tricot Bliss Mohair. And then in the back, these are striped individually. So one fingering weight, one Mohair, along with a Make It Tweed. So I could scooch my way back on the table here to get a little closer to you. It's a weird one. I've never done this before.
This is great. I like it. So what I love about this is it's kind of, I would be interested to see when we look at the film whether it's picking it up exactly. But when we shot the photographs of it, we went to a place that had bunting, and it just is like got that celebratory vibe, and it works so well with the name of the pattern as well, being Gala. It's just like, it's a happy knit.
This came out of a design that I originally did as part of my machine knitting degree. My knitwear degree that was mostly focused on machine knitting, and as part of a module on workwear and exploring historic workwear garments, mostly on women factory workers. So I was riffing on that, and I was thinking about this like rustic, sort of hard-wearing woolen yarn, contrasting with really delicate lace panels and cashmere, and like the way these big, heavy, intense machines would be used to produce these incredibly delicate pieces of fabric. And so that was the sort of like thinky part, that you had to have a thinky part because it's
a degree.
But the result was I did a sweater top down. It was a drop shoulder because that's easier on a machine, but with a lace panel at the back. And my granny was saying she loved that piece out of my collection. She said, you should make that a hand knitting pattern. And the lace itself was machine lace, very different from hand knitting lace. And then when I was designing this pattern, I didn't want to get really, really complicated with the lace work. I really wanted to just I was really inspired by this yarn in how I would bring that in. So all of these ideas came together, and I did my degree in a town called Gala Shields, and they nickname it Gala. And they always had bunting up in the summer, and they had a bunch of street festivals. One day I woke up and there were like, I don't know, 24 pipers walking past my kitchen window, and I was like, oh, this is
like it's a party in the back. It's the mullet sweater.
It's the mullet sweater. Business in the front, party in the back.
But I love that. It's got like a Canadian element to it, because like that's such a Canadian joke to make. Yeah. So I love that it ties together your two identities as well. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece that is like really easy to wear.
Yeah, it really just makes your whole outfit. You don't have to. I don't feel too dressed up, but
you got something.
You got something going on.
Yeah.
And we did another version. So Sasha wore this version in the book.
Should do the back first.
Sure.
Okay.
So this was, I wanted to highlight how you could play with the yarn weights in their sort of category forms. So instead of fingering and mohair together at a DK gauge, we used a DK weight yarn. So the DK is 100% merino, double merino from Along Avec Anna. And then what I love about our Along Avec Anna yarns is that their colors line up so beautifully across, their palette is the same across their three bases. So we took the colorway granate or pomegranate for this sweater and just used it in the three different bases. The fingering weight merino and the silk mohair adjust together in the chevron panel, and then the rest of it is in the DK. So this would be a great project if you have a lone skein of fingering weight or some mohair leftovers in your stash and you just bought the sweater quantity of the DK. You could get creative playing with colors that way as well.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be monotone.
Yeah.
It could work in all kinds of different ways. But what I love also about the detail on this is the split hem. So because this is seamed up later, you can choose to kind of seam it up as much or as little as you want.
So we left that completely open for Sasha's version. We didn't seam it at all. And for this version, I seamed it down to about where my true waist is.
Yeah.
And you want a little bit of movement there.
Well, because it shows it off, right? If it's seamed all the way, I think, and it's not awful, but what it does is it allows it to move differently so that it draws your eye to the detail. I think it's a really thoughtful way of putting it together. So yeah.
Thoughtful or lazy?
I think it's thoughtful. I insist that it's thoughtful. I think that's a hallmark of all your designs.
Thank you for attributing the capacity of thought to me. So we have one more book project to walk through with you, and then before we know it, it'll be out. So we haven't gone in depth on all of the designs in the book in our podcast, but I have been pacing out little Instagram deep dives on each of the patterns, the motivations of the designers, a little bit more about the yarns used, and the Ravelry pages are all there as well, and we're taking care to put all of our Ravelry projects up from the samples and some things that our preview knitters are doing, and I've already cast on a bunch more. I can't wait to knit them all. And so take a look there for more details about all of the patterns in the book. But without further ado...
Well, I really wanted to revisit my Aurora cardigan. So long-time viewers will remember this as my Rhinebeck sweater from 2 years ago. So 2 Rhinebecks ago. It was in white. So this is not the sweater that I wore on the podcast and at Rhinebeck. But this is the Aurora, which some of you have asked about. Where did that go? Why did that never get published? So this is a chunky sweater with lots of cables, knit in Cyrano by Rerum Natura, so at a 12 stitch gauge approximately. That's in pattern, and it has these colorwork panels that are knit and steeked and then sewn in, appliqued into the spaces created in reverse stockinette by the movement of the cables.
Absolutely incredible.
So this is the original version, which is obviously, I would say, quite an advanced pattern. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, it isn't. But one of the things that struck me about this design is that it would be really nice if I could offer another version of it that was more approachable. So that was sort of my project for the book. And so this is the other version of the Aurora. So it's the exact same knitting in terms of the sweater section, really. And this one is knit in Wish by Drops. So similar, 12 stitch gauge. The gauge is dead on. But what I did is, instead of having you knit these colorwork panels, is as you're knitting this body, the body of these pieces, used double strand mohair in the panels where you would have been leaving these blank to sew over top. So this is a version where you're not then knitting a whole other project, cutting it up and putting it on. When you're done knitting, you are done knitting. In this case, I used Aurora Tricot's Sake, which is their silk mohair blend in the color Paloma. And I did use 2 strands along with the wish. So it's quite thick.
It's so beautiful though. You can really...
So it gives you a similar look and feel, like you still get that sort of princessy vibe and showing off all the detail without needing to be a colorwork knitter who's comfortable steeking tiny little pieces and then sewing them on.
And because it's knit flat and seamed, it's sort of that faux tasha effect.
Yes.
You basically just pick it up when you get to this section, you pick up the other yarn and then you let it fall when you're done, and it's going to be waiting there for you when you come back the other way. Next row. I knit this one, and I will say it is an incredibly satisfying and approachable cable knit cardigan just on the basics of the chunky knit part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then here's a little secret is that I ran out of time. So the colorwork patches that you see here on this actually originally lived on my white version that you may have seen a year and a bit ago. So actually I cut them off that sweater and sewed them onto this sweater so that we would have something to shoot.
Which means I totally cheated in this sweater because I did not
have to actually knit the colorwork.
But I am planning it. I'm super excited. I'm planning it in Jolly DK held double, which is an incredibly cozy gauge. And I just can't wait. But I think it's going to be an after Christmas cast on for me at this point.
Well, and I think the reason I wanted to bring that up is to say, I think often when you haven't done steeking and the idea of cutting your knitting and sewing it is really intimidating. Like these didn't unravel and they've been moved from a different sweater onto this sweater and they still look just fine and there is no reinforcement in my steeks.
The blocking on something like Jamieson Smith's Shetland Spindrift, which is what this is the blocking of it almost felts it a little bit.
Yeah, like it wants to stay together.
And even stitches themselves in steeking, they don't want to unravel from side to side. It's not like they want to fall down, which they do. They can easily drop. And all of us know how easily a stitch can drop along its own column, but it doesn't want to unravel
the other way
horizontally. It's trapped in that structure.
Well, and then the other thing is I have the white one still and I've been wearing it with no decoration.
Which also looks beautiful.
And no one's been like, what's wrong? Your sweater's unfinished.
Yeah.
It doesn't, so, if this appeals to you as just a nice cable knit cardigan, that's fine too. You can just knit it the way it is. And I think it's lovely. And I've been wearing mine until I plan. Like, I think I'm obviously going to leave these on here.
Yeah, they're on there now.
And I'll knit something different to put back on mine and maybe try playing around with the color.
I think it's just thinking about knits a bit more creatively with embellishments. I think is something increasingly that we're doing and people are more aware of. Like with the embroidery on
just having fun,
And I think that those reverse stockinette panels, thinking of that as negative space for potential design work is fascinating.
Yeah, it's really fun.
They are these really quite large panels that you could embroider on.
You could use any scraps of yarn you have to just even duplicate stitch in little places. Yeah. I love that idea. It does take time. I think one of the things I struggle with is whether I want to spend a lot of time on finishing or embellishing. Yeah. Some projects I've got that in me and other projects I'm like, no, I'm done.
Yeah. There is a different mentality you have to go into a project with when you know that last stitch cast off, you're going to have another few hours work beyond that.
Yeah.
But that's just part of the project planning, I think, from the outset. So it doesn't feel like a slog. You get to the end and you're like, oh wait, no, I'm not finished. You get to the end and you're like, oh, now I can embroider it.
It kind of like working on that reminded me a little bit of like cutting a pattern for sewing and then the process later of assembling everything, right? That those are kind of two different stages of the work. So the knitting of the big chunky parts and the steeked parts is creating the pieces to then assemble something.
Yeah.
So I think that mentality makes it seem much less sort of a slog.
And it is such a fun, quick, chunky knit on those big needles at a 12 stitch gauge that I think that took me a week or two.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've knit that now, I think 3 times myself just in the process of designing it. And I could totally sit down and do it again.
Yeah.
It's super fast. The cables are really motivating. It was super fun to work on and I'm really, really excited to have it out in the world and see what people do with it. Because I think, it has a lot of options. And yeah, I'm happy I came up with something a little bit less intensive and advanced so that everybody feels like they can approach it.
Absolutely.
Anyways, it's definitely I'm very, very proud of that design. I'm really happy with it.
You should be. It's a real, like, it reminds me of something I'd see on a complete, like, the haute couture labels you've never heard of. Like, those really, really hip, almost streetwear, but it's like, it's like,
I should make one and like send it to a really important basketball player.
Yes. If we're still kind of on book projects, I could talk about a whip that I have underway.
Yeah,
because I really want the Aurora to be the next thing that I cast on from the book, but it's going to be in the new year at this rate because I want to enjoy it and take my time with it. But in the meantime, what I really want to get done for our launch event at the store, and if you're local, please do come see us on December 16th. I'll remind in the caption below. We're going to have just all day, no specific timing, just we're going to be here with treats and snacks and our signing pens, and we'd love to see you and show you the book. This is the back. This is the Caraway sweater by Mona. It is a top-down colorwork yoke. And I'm using the same yarn we used in one of our samples, Brook. But I've made some changes through the body because the body has this fantastic all-over lace eyelet pattern, which was very intentional in how Mona designed it. She describes it as like it
airs you out. Like if you run hot,
yeah,
you put in these little holes for aeration.
But I know for myself, like I was talking about the higher neckline, I don't gravitate towards lace sweaters because, again, I don't love thinking about what I'm wearing underneath. That kind of didn't really matter for this sweater because the ease that you're wearing it in means that it's going to sit away from your body. You're not going to have to really, and there's no lace through the yoke where it's actually going to be right on your skin. But still, I also had so much of this beautiful skein of Brook left over that I just kept on going with a little sort of, not mosaic because I knitted as colorwork, as stranded colorwork, but those little pearl bumps that are pretty characteristic of mosaic knitting patterns all the way through.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Thank you. All of the mods are on the Ravelry page. I'll link to the specific project. It fit perfectly with the, I just based it on the lace, the stitch count is based on the lace repeat that Mona had, so it should work across sizes. And I didn't change anything in the sleeves, they just worked straight. I did that. Oh, but I ribbed instead of, you know me, I can never knit a sleeve according to the pattern. So I did the rib cuff instead of an I-cord bind off, which Mona's sweater has.
And I love the color. This is Oxford blue.
This is Oxford blue on the jolly. I didn't bother alternating skeins through the body. I did the split hem exactly as Mona writes it out, which is really well written for making sure that that's an elegant little join here. She has like a little
over top a little bit.
Yeah, so it actually works so nicely here. Oh, they both have ends attached to them, but it works so nicely for getting enough of an overlap that it looks really elegant rather than ending up with any sort of loose stitches there, which can sometimes happen on a split hem if you literally do just divide it into.
Yeah, it kind of like flares away.
Yeah, so that's really lovely detail. And yeah, I'm super happy with it.
It's beautiful.
So I'll be wearing it next week. Just got one sleeve to do.
Beautiful. So that's a wrap, I guess, for now on our book patterns. We'll obviously keep talking about some of the other patterns on next podcast and as we continue to cast on projects from the book.
Yeah, I mean, we always do a works in progress section on the podcast, and if we're both working on book projects, you're going to see a lot more of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have 2 more whips to share because why knit one sweater when you can knit 3? But this is sort of not quite an impulse cast on because I knew I wanted a sweater for Christmas. It's been a while since I've done like a holiday sweater, and this red from Feisty Fibers, this is the pure Canadian worsted, and the color is Love Bomber, and it is just the most incredible deep red. I'm so impressed by what Karen can get on this.
A non-superwash base.
Non-superwash base, but also specifically this kind of Canadian fiber, which I've been dyeing this kind of fiber for 5 years now, and it is intense to get those colors on. And so I'm super impressed by this, and it's just the most perfect holiday red. So this is the Donna Jenner sweater by Joanna Ang. It's fairly recent. I think it came out within the last month or so. And it's just knitting up so beautifully in these textured cables. And this is such a round, bouncy, voluminous yarn. It's similar to Gilead, but somewhere I think in thickness in between Gilead and Cyrano. So this pattern is 14 stitches in 4 inches. But just from seeing what our staff have done with it, and also this sample that we're going to talk about quickly behind us, it's so versatile at a looser gauge.
There's something about it that's almost velvety, and it's not just the color, because like the color can do that to you, but this as well. When I felt this, and Hannah brought this in, when you block it, it goes to this place that gives me a velvet feeling. It's really, really nice.
Dare I say it, maybe even softer than Gilead?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
So, it's incredible. We just love this yarn. It sold out really, really quickly when we got it sort of towards the end of the winter season last year. So we went in a bit harder on it this year with like full sweater quantities in a bunch of different colors. And Karen, the dyer, she was amazing. Like, we thought that maybe the palette was missing a red.
And this is what she brings with. It's amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to put this in something, and I'm loving this color. And speaking of the gorgeous intensity that she can get on this color, let's get this down. This is a store sample knitted for us by Hannah. This is the Channel sweater from the upcoming book, and look at this pink. It is truly neon. It is this beautiful kind of colder pink than I think it's coming across on the camera right now. It's almost got that sort of cold electric blue undertone to it.
It's got a very, like Barbie for sure. It's got that Barbie thing, but it's not bubblegummy.
Yeah.
And also, I just have to hold it up to me specifically, because when I put it on, I was like, I should be wearing this color more. I can't believe how good this looks.
It just really suits so many more people than you'd expect. Super fluorescent pink.
Yeah.
Like, we all tried it on in a little video to show the differences in positive ease. You can find that on our Instagram a few posts back at this point. So this sweater was designed to be worn with a lot of positive ease. This is the 3rd size. I think it's 54 inches off the top of my head. Does it say?
We didn't mark that down, but yeah, it's size 3.
So because it's a drop shoulder, it's intended to fall much lower towards your elbows.
Because this is knit at 12 stitches, it's very drapey. It has tons of movement. So this is a yarn that you can look at for a plain stockinette. You can look at it for texture. And we've done swatches and color work too. It looks great.
And it's so versatile in terms of those gauges. I'm knitting a hat with it right now on a 4.5mm needle, and it's like 22 stitches in rib.
And just getting that crunch and where it's going to stay warm on your ears.
What inspired us to take it there was colleague Layla did a ranunculus in it.
Yeah, and
it's
fantastic. Amazing.
Yeah.
She somehow managed to make it super goth, which is amazing. Like Layla has strong fashion sense
goth,
that comes through in all of her makes.
So that's that, and I will keep up to date as it comes along. And
your other whip?
Yes, there's some vacuuming outside, so excuse us if you can hear anything in the background. But I will just quickly talk about. Oh, I should have put my stitch stoppers on it. Never mind. This I started. This was a utilitarian cast on. I taught a class on starting a warm-up sweater. This is a design of mine that came out last year, and it is again a top-down raglan. Unlike some of our other top-down raglan patterns, there's no increasing on the wrong side through the short rows. So if you're starting out knitting top-down sweaters, I know that knitting short rows and raglan increases at the same time can be really confusing. You don't know if you're getting it right, and like the conceptualization of like what those back and forth rows should be creating, and it's a 3D fabric is tricky to wrap our heads around sometimes. This, I would say, is an easier first top-down raglan sweater than our others like the gingerbread and the bright side, because those have increasing on the wrong side as well. This one doesn't. So that's why I picked it up for a class. It's also a looser gauge, so a quicker knit. And the original was knit in in Drops Air, and we did one in Snefnug. But for this one, I really wanted to try our Bon Tricot Jolly base and Mohair together. So that's the happy bit. So I chose the original undyed sweatshirt colorway, and I just warmed it up a bit with the Sandcastle Mohair. So instead of the sort of cold, lovely cold gray that
you're wearing, actually.
That I'm wearing, yeah, very similar to what I'm wearing. This Mohair just warms it up a touch, almost beige, but I was still grayish.
Grayish, very much grayish.
Grayish. So that's that, and I'm loving it so much that with that combination inspiring me, I jumped on a test knit run by Ozetta for a really fun quick knit that I absolutely love. And this is the Autumn Tails cowl. So this just came out this past week. I think it came out on Friday. And it's already been a hit in store. It comes in 3 sizes. It's a really simple, beautiful quick knit that would be so good for gifting because you don't need to know somebody's size to give them almost a sweater. Basically, there are a few differences in the shoulder width, but really easier to size for people if you don't know their measurements. And it has this fantastic, pretty little braid detail that's applied afterwards with crochet. It's worth doing that if it does intimidate you, crochet. It does have a really lovely, nice finish as written without it. It doesn't look unfinished if you don't put the braid on, but the braid is worth it.
I think it definitely gives it just something really special.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a really cozy turtleneck. I mean, even just the measurements that Ozetta Haley is the name of the designer, gives for the turtleneck are just like the perfect height for staying cozy. I wore this and I was good even without a scarf. So I guess I could show you the difference between what that sandcastle color does in the mohair, because these are both sweatshirt, and this one is with the undyed meringue colorway, and this is with, do you want to hold that there? And this is with sandcastle. So you can see the difference that it's making.
It's subtle, but it's definitely
really subtle,
there.
But that's sort of...
Yeah, if you like something warmer.
Yeah, if you want something warmer, we have that camel mohair. I keep calling it camel. That's not the colorway name. It's sandcastle, but we have it in stock. And we put together kits, and I thought black would be really classic too. This is with the double Sunday and Knitting for Olive mohair, and this is with the original sweatshirt colorway and Knitting for Olive mohair. So I actually put the mohair from Knitting for Olive in here because the yardage is just slightly higher. For size 2 of the Autumn Tails cowl, I used exactly 50 grams of the mohair, and I didn't want anyone running out when they knit it. So I used what Ozetta recommends in the pattern, which is 2 Knitting for Olive, which is slightly more yardage than one of these. So highly recommended, great little gift project. I kind of want to put a black one on my needles immediately for another gift, but we'll see if I get that.
Yeah.
That. It didn't take me long.
No, you
nice
zoomed through this.
It was a pretty short window for the test knit, which definitely motivated me on to do it, but it's not like I felt like I was rushed. It was methodical, garter stitch, easy to follow, highly recommended.
Cool.
So that's
You've been so busy.
Have been busy. I've just been enjoying it. It's that time of year when I start to spend more time in the house, and the evenings once I get home after work, I'm kind of just like in for the night, just settle in and stitch away.
I definitely have like some gift knitting in my mind, but I have to be realistic. I'm gonna have to have a look at the calendar days remaining and make some decisions about who's getting hand knits this year. Yeah,
I'm pretty set now, I think, with how much I'm managing for that, which is not much. I don't want to overcommit, especially like with the book, and I didn't know how much time I had with all of the sample knitting for that. So, but yeah, we've done a lot of knitting this year.
Yes, a great deal of knitting.
Well, let's move on to some new things.
I know it's been a little while since we've had a new yarn to talk about. So we thought quite long and hard about this. We are trying to be really thoughtful about bringing in new lines and making sure that we're going to stick with them for a long time. We have a really clear idea of where they fit on our shelves.
Yeah.
So this is Alba by Jody Long, not the same as BC Garn Alba, which is behind us. So this is a tweedy sort of sport to DK weight yarn that is a blend of wool, alpaca, and viscose. The viscose is the nuts, so it's not really like that's what's giving the little color and the tweed element. The yarn itself is a wool and alpaca blend, and it's a fairly convincing dupe, I would say, for Rowan's felted tweed, although it sort of sits between felted tweed and felted tweed DK. Like it's not quite as heavy as one and not as light as the other.
And the yardage is absolutely fantastic. It's 382 yards in 100 grams, which is very much more on a sport range.
Sort of, yes, absolutely.
So like, I just think I'm so excited by this yarn. It's been a while since we've had a tweed that just knows how to fleck.
Yeah.
It's like there are some of the bright colors have these beautiful little different colors of the neps in them, whereas the neutrals, I mean, this navy has sort of like lilac ones, and this beige has sort of like slightly
brown.
Yellow, umber brown, toffee sprinkles, and this gray, again, sort of more on the neutral side. So it's incredibly well thought out that each of these colors almost seems to have its own different style
of colorways for the net. Yeah, exactly.
Which is something that you just don't see all that often. So, I mean, it's totally appropriate that like this beautiful neon pink that isn't really a color you'd usually associate with tweed. I say neon, it's deeper than that. It's sort of a gorgeous fuchsia.
Sort of with a little bit of rose underneath,
It totally makes sense that this has these beautiful
almost
green
turquoise
and turquoise and bright flecks in it compared to, like, you don't want a bunch of brown flecks in your pink tweed necessarily.
Yeah, it's you're right. There's something really thoughtful about the entire color range and the way that the tweediness has been worked into the colorway itself.
And then it's sort of that subtlety that you really want from this effect. It's not novelty, it's not over the top. This is a little sample swatch we worked up when we were deciding on whether to bring this in. It really is hitting that absolutely classic but fun. It's a really classic tweed, but like with a fun twist.
And I picked up this navy specifically along with the neutrals because I think this has got a very sort of unisex, totally appropriate for knitting for men as well. So like if there are men on your gift knitting list, this might be an interesting thing to look at. You could whip up a hat in this in no time.
It's so cozy.
And it's really classic.
Yeah.
And the other thing is often, felted tweed especially is used in color work. And I love the idea of using this in color work. And the other thing I like about it is that it would work really, really well with the Rerum Natura Ulisse.
Yeah.
So they have a similar ply, they have a similar kind of yardage. You could work a color work pattern by using both of these.
Or think about stripes, like
bold
stripes and getting that contrasting
between the sort of plain.
Exactly. With that would be really fun.
So we have them actually next to each other on the shelves in our DK section. So I'm really looking forward to being able to sort of work with customers on putting pairings together.
And even I just noticed, I didn't think to look before because it didn't occur to me that this would be machine washable because it feels so natural, but it is machine wash at 30. So
fabulous. So really that gift knitting, somebody
gift knitting.
who's not a knitter but like is willing to take some care, like obviously.
And it's going to be that nice softness enough on that sensitive like forehead and
it's
and
quite
ear
soft.
Ear skin.
It's definitely softer than Ulisse, I would say.
I think so.
It's not quite as crunchy. But I would definitely work with them together. I think it'd be super fun.
So we're really excited. This is so new. We haven't got a sample going in it yet, but I'm going to have to take some time to think about what's going to be a really great sample to show this off the best. I put some suggestions in an Instagram post recently. If you go back a little while to It Looks Like a Basket of This Yarn, I swiped through and I put in one, the Drea Renee knits, the everyday sweater that you suggested to me.
Perfect for this.
That little tweedy vibe will just elevate it beyond just being like a plain sweater. And then a few gift knits in there too, some in colourwork, some not. Hot water bottle cover by Laura Penrose that came out super recently that is just adorable. So go back and take a look at that for some project inspiration. But I think even just like knitting the gingerbread or the classic in this would be
amazing.
Would really let this, it'd just be a pleasure to knit.
And you'd get something so classic and timeless that you'll be wearing it forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're really excited about having this on the shelves. And I think
I have it on the table next to Make a Tweed, and I also think that this would be super fun.
Just
tweed on tweed.
So much tweed.
Make it extreme tweed.
Extreme tweed. That would be a fun knit along.
Yes.
Extreme tweed.
That would be a great knit along.
Yeah. So really looking forward to seeing what all of you guys make with this and deciding on a good store sample idea for it as well. That'll be after we finish the podcast, we can talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you have any ideas, what's your favorite sport DK pattern with some color work, with knot, whatever? Is this yarn
tell
speaking to you? Let us know any ideas you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the true new product, but we could keep on with the newness as we move into the sort of gift guide inspiration
because obviously
part of the show.
It's on our minds. We're talking about what's going on our needles for the holidays, and obviously we're saying first big snowfall.
Stop touching.
it's very much holidays and wish lists are on our minds. In fact, Hannah did something really smart in the store. I got to give a shout out to Hannah. So obviously on our online store, there's a wish list sort of button that you can hit.
And you can share it.
And you can send it to people. But I heard Hannah sort of say to somebody, if that's something you want to put on your wish list, I can just make a note of it in your customer file. And that's so cool. So now like people who are shopping more in store can be like, hey, add this to my profile. And then when their loved ones come in and go, I'm shopping for so-and-so, we can be like, here's what they want, which I think is like a nice direct way of dealing with things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So speaking of wish lists, here are some things that might find their way onto them.
Yeah.
Christmas specials. Holiday specials.
Let's talk plaid. Yes. We love plaid. If you remember,
plaid.
We did our special, our custom hide and hammer bag, I guess,
about a year
ago.
Yeah.
So, New from Hide and Hammer wrote and let us know that she had some of our custom fabric left over. So we said ship it, and we passed it to Jocelyn, who does our petite pochettes and our grande pochettes. And so we have this very limited edition run.
This is really the last of this.
That's right.
And it was so exciting to get that email.
Yeah.
We had this little bit of like,
fabric.
That happened, and then now it's happening again.
So yeah, we have the petite pochette here and of course it's Jocelyn, perfectly matched plaid. We went and got a different color ribbon. The original pochettes have a black and white, and we went for a little brown and white to kind of call to mind some of the plaid, and a white zipper.
And this is the grande pochette, which fits about up to a sort of
400 to 450.
400 gram project. And it still has that little detail on the side of the lobster claw, so you can even clip these together, and they're besties and they're not going anywhere.
So cute.
So cute. And then this opens and it can sit up on its own. It's got a beautiful wedge shape at the bottom. You can do the kind of little rollover thing.
I've got paper in it.
Got paper in it right now, but you can open it up a bit like a bucket or a bag of chips, so you can access it easily
and work from it.
And so these are a fantastic pairing for your hide and hammer project bag. If you got one of those original ones, or if you missed that, you can still enjoy the plaid.
Yes, absolutely.
This is such a great fabric. It's so durable. It just gets gorgeously soft with time while maintaining.
But it has enough structure to it that it really does stand up. But the linen ones don't stand up like this.
That's true.
So this is really nice that it can do the stand up.
And they are lined in the regular pale linen cotton lining of our regular petite pochettes.
Which is nice because you can see your stuff.
Everything. Like, where's that little button? And there it is. So just beautiful. One or both of those would be an excellent gift. And these would also make fantastic pencil cases, and also just that every little thing in the bottom of your bag. Really, I find them great because most of my bags are like a vertical format. My backpack is taller than it is wide, etc. So having something this shape that I can just kind of like slot in and stack everything up and see everything when I open it up, and know that my phone charger and lip balm and Altoids and everything are in this, is that kind of catch-all pouch too. We do also have a pretty good stock of I'm just taking a peek. Yes, pretty good stock of the other colors in the linen canvas fabric. So we'll link those down below as well. If plaid isn't your thing, if it isn't, I don't know if plaid isn't anyone's thing, but there are a whole bunch of other lovely colors too. They make great gifts, great teacher gifts.
Yeah. So this is the latest Jezebel Bay holiday collection.
Yes. Every year she does a plaid for her holiday collection, and they're always beautiful, always super limited edition. What we have is what we have, and I just love it.
So we got the large knitting bag and the medium, and the really cool thing. You're going to show the bucket thing. So for one thing,
I can show the bucket thing. For one thing, this is my favorite bag to knit from while standing. I have one of her past holiday ones, and I always know the holidays are coming when I get that first bag out for my gift knitting. It always hosts my gift knitting projects. I have the medium one. At the moment, I can attest at home it has 2 mitten projects and a bunch of yarn and sundries in it. So they're really quite spacious. And I'll do the little flip trick. I'm usually not trying to do it
on camera while people are watching. No pressure.
No pressure. Anyway, so if I put a bunch of my things in it now, ta-da!
Yeah.
And so that can sit on this couch beside you, allow for really open, there's no catch, no fastenings. That's really Jezebel's thing, to keep it really minimalist and provide a smooth knitting experience.
So, and the other cute thing is that this year they come with a beautiful card.
This is illustrated by Paul TB of Oso Yanko, who's also an incredible illustrator, and they've collaborated on things in the past as well. So all super local to us in Quebec, and you get a little beautiful Christmas postcard of Jezebel in a gorgeous sweater with a gorgeous bag. And they're so soft this year. This plaid almost feels like a woolen.
Yeah, it's really nice.
But inside is really hard-wearing canvas, and this definitely doesn't feel like it's only seasonal. I bring mine out at Christmas because the one I have is very Christmassy colors, green and red and gold. This one I would reach for all year round.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so classic. And then, speaking of classic.
And Jezebel, we have, again, very limited quantity of her absolutely incredible large leather knitting bag. Now this, we don't get them in very often, and they're never here for long when we do get them. This is the butteriest, softest leather I've ever felt.
Yeah, and the sueding on the inside too, it's so good.
So it's unlined, but obviously, like with this incredible skill, the seams are fully finished.
What's cool is that she's got these snaps on the top, so again it does this really easily. It opens up and can become a sit open on the table for your knitting
bucket.
It's just the ultimate in luxury.
I'm just also really tempted to use this as a handbag anytime I see it, because you could really fit anything. It could be a bag for your project bags, you know, like if you're going away for the holidays, if you're traveling, you have a couple little things in that you all amass into this, and here's your crafting bucket for the holidays. And you can do that.
But it's so designed for it's the arm hang thing, and then you look so sophisticated.
But definitely like grabbing this and running out to the car and driving home for Christmas.
Yeah,
it's a totally romantic idea that I just love.
And these also come, already in a box. Yes. Very easy to wrap and put under the tree.
Yeah, and it's just the beautiful leather will just keep getting better with age.
It's stunning.
It's so tempting.
It smells so good too.
I just get a whiff of it when I walk by, and it's the most incredible.
Yeah.
I like working around great smells.
Yeah, it's nice.
Wool, and
it's all very farmy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not farmy. That makes me think I'm in like a luxury Italy leather.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, right? As well. Yeah, that as well. So bags galore. Bags are always a hit, and because all knitters need bags.
Yes, absolutely. It's much easier to choose a bag for somebody than to choose yarn for somebody, I reckon.
We say that all the time in here, that buying yarn for someone else is a very particular thing. So that's where that gift card comes in. If yarn is the thing you want to give.
The gift of yarn shopping.
Yes.
That's what we all want.
So the stuff we're showing is not yarn in terms of gifts that we recommend. So the other thing, obviously, it's always really popular at this time of year is kits. A lot of people
needle kits.
Put these on their wish list, or because it's something that is, it's a big investment, but it's something a lot of knitters dream about if they haven't managed to get one for themselves yet. So we won't dwell too long because
we've talked about interchangeable needle sets before. We are total evangelists for interchangeable needle sets. They're a fantastic investment at the beginning of your knitting journey, and we see a lot of that this time of year in store, that people who've started knitting maybe through the autumn and come to it as a cozy autumnal craft and get really into it. It's like, now's the time before you've invested hundreds and hundreds of dollars in separate needles. But also, even if you have a kit like this, just keeps everything together and everything's there exactly when you need it.
So for bamboo lovers, we have the Kinky Amibari sets. So we have these as little 4-packs, but we also have these full sets. This is the 5-inch needles, but we have 4-inch as well. And online you can see all the details of exactly which sizes are included and the cords that are included. And of course has this really adorable and very compact case. So all the extras come in here.
I absolutely love the presentation of those.
They're so elegant.
It's a gift in itself.
Yeah.
And we have a pretty complete range of Chiaogu as well. We've got all the shorties. We've got the blue, which is 3.5 to 5 millimeter. We've got the red, which is 2 to 3.25 millimeter, and the yellow is 5.5 to 8 millimeter, and I keep coming back to these time and again. They are completely indispensable.
I think we also have some of the minis as well, and this is a brand we can get quickly. So if there's something that you're not seeing in stock, hit notify me.
Ah, jinx. We see those. That's what we use that a lot when we're restocking Childhood. What do people need?
Yeah, and then we have the full kits as well, which well, there's a full set, and then there's the 2 half sets, small sizes and the large sizes.
The full set is called complete, technically.
Yeah.
So if you see complete, that's what it means. It's 2.75 to 10.
Yeah. So it's a huge number of needles, and really for the voracious knitter that knits at every gauge, the complete is wonderful.
Yeah.
We also find the small is very popular because it goes all the way up to 5 millimeters. So anybody knitting sort of a worsted weight gauge is getting what they need there.
Yeah.
You know, we love ChiaoGoo, and then we have the tips, we have the cables, we have the stoppers. So if somebody's kind of getting started, the nice thing is we'll have all those extras for filling in your kit as you go as well.
These, we only have these to show you because the rest flew out so quickly. These are adorable flower-shaped stitch markers from All Stitch Studio, who are based in the States in Philadelphia. And they're just so sweet. They're the kind of thing that like gives you a little sort of ooh every time you come around to it in your knitting. Just one of those things that, sure, other stitch markers exist, but these
are flowers.
Are flowers! And they come in different colors. We've reordered already, so hopefully there'll be ETA on those by the time we publish. Hit notify me to get that email when they do get back in stock, and we're going to get gold star ones as well.
Oh, so
and
cute.
a little sampler box with all the different kinds.
Perfect.
Again, really great stocking stuff for really great, I don't know if your knitting group does a Secret Santa, that kind of thing. They just sort of, it's the pleasure of making, and it's like the treat of using tools that just
like make you smile
and enhance the fun of the project. And they're also fantastic value because 32 markers for $15, that's really quite good.
Well, and also we were talking about sort of like for people who are shopping online, if you're trying to hit the free shipping minimum, products like this are great, right? When you rather get something than pay for shipping. So if you're looking in that world, that sort of $14 to $18 world, this is a perfect thing to do as an add-on to get over the shipping minimum and get everything sent to you for free.
Instead of nothing.
Yeah.
And finally, we think about this every year. I don't know if this has ever happened to any of you. You start knitting around family or extended family and you get the, can you teach me? And so instead of being like, I guess, maybe just be like, yes, I can. Read this book. This is Skill Set.
So we always restock this around this time of year because it is such a good sort of starter for knitting. This is from Modern Daily Knitting. The illustrations are really clear and really fresh and modern. I feel like the whole aesthetic of this is really appealing to sort of the younger folks.
Yeah, and it's just a fantastic format as well for keeping with you, for keeping in your knitting bag.
Because it's small.
It's small, it's light, it's sort of everything you need and nothing you don't.
Yes, exactly. So we love this one.
And we have a French one, Les Bases de Mademoiselle Sophie. So this, especially if you are watching us in English, but you feel like you're going to be more comfortable diving into French or teaching French knitting, this is an excellent, cute little book with lots, again, modern sort of graphic design and
cute, simple patterns. And also,
ideas.
I like she has the QR codes in there that link to videos. So if you want a place where everything's together, but also you can have access to seeing something in motion.
And it's mostly illustration based, and it does have projects in it, whereas this, I believe, doesn't have specific projects. So. But it gives you everything you need to approach the projects that you find on Ravelry. And this is the absolute beginner's guide, first time knitting. And this has a lot of photographs. I haven't flipped through this as much as the others. If you're somebody who learns more with photographs than illustrations, I would definitely recommend this one.
So to give an idea of what you're looking at inside, so really, really clear step-by-step photographs instead of illustrations. And that can make a big difference. It depends on your learning style. This does have some projects in it, 9 little projects at the end. They're great, they're fine, but honestly, what's really strong about this, I think, is the step-by-step photography that's involved. So these are just 3 options. for more advanced knitters, we have Patty Lyons' book and things like that.
And we have knitting rules. I'm looking at the bookshelf now. We have Patty Lyons' Knitting Bag of Tricks. We have Knitting Rules by Stephanie Pearl McPhee. If you've heard of anybody who has started knitting and
they're ready for that next
step that's going to build their enthusiasm and like, what do I do now? And like, why do people get so into this? I don't get it. I've just made a dishcloth, and what's the big deal? Those books we'll tell you the big deal.
And both of them are very funny.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Like it's a light-hearted they're both light-hearted books with lots of good information, but will make you chuckle when you're reading them, which is nice too. So it doesn't feel like a chore, It's like really fun to learn.
Yeah. So I think that's about it for today.
It is. There was something I want to say, which is so my mom went on a solo trip last month. She went to the UK and she went to Europe, and she would text me, and this is how I got the feeling that she was just basically on a global trip of bragging about us, like talking about the book and this is my daughter and this was and how I know she was doing that is because she kept meeting people who were in the knitting world, who'd be like, oh yes, I'm familiar with Espace Tricot, which thank you, all of you, for doing that, because it made me look amazing to my mom. And I specifically want to say hi to James Curtis, who sat next to my mom on the train to London and instantly knew who I was and knew the podcast. You, James, you definitely made my day, because I was like, yeah, that's right. I am a big deal. But also it made me realize how much my mom was talking about me while she was gone, which she's adorable and wonderful. And it is super sweet. I don't know. There's moments like that where like we're in such a niche world, right? Like doing this kind of work, and often with family and friends who are outside that world, they'll say things like, oh, you should sell your sweaters that you make. And it's like, yes, thank you. Yeah, I just say like, oh, thank you, that's so nice. And I don't get in.
There are yarn stores. Yes, there are yarn stores. That does exist. People still do that. Knitting, they do that. Yes.
And so I think we've both had moments where like friends or family have sort of mentioned us and had someone respond with like, oh yeah, I know her. She's a big deal. That has made them go, oh, really?
I don't know if that's ever happened for me.
But anyways, it was really nice to know that my mom was out there. Like that's once a mom, always a mom. That she's still out there being like, my daughter's real special. She does cool things.
I love how your mom voice is the same as your daughter's voice.
Yes,
you're pretending to be them.
I only have one voice. Anyway, so thank you, James, for watching, and thanks for making my mom think that I'm famous. It was really nice.
Thank you, all of you who talk up these small businesses to your families and friends. Just speaking from our own limited experience there, how other people in this industry must feel like when that kind of thing happens to them, and knowing that people are out there talking them up, supporting them, sharing their wish lists, asking their significant others to trek all the way across town to that one specific yarn store to get a gift card
and ask them for my profile. Yeah, it's really sweet.
Really sweet. Yeah, it means a lot to, I'm sure I can speak for so many small business owners out there when I'm saying it means a huge amount.
Yeah. And we'll be I should mention this, we will be doing train travel. Because part of our book tour sort of stuff is that we're going to be making some little trips to different yarn shops. And our first one really is January 6th.
January 6th, we will be at
the Knitting Loft in Toronto. We are really excited.
So that is a Saturday. It's the first Saturday in January. And we'll be there all day for all sorts of things. We haven't figured out the exact order of events yet, but I think it'll be a pretty open day.
Meet and greet, sign books, consult with people on what they want to be knitting.
We'll have all the samples. We'll have the whole trunk show, and all of our samples are in 2 different sizes to fit. They all fit a really broad range, but they're the sizing around about to fit a bust 36 and a bust 46. So
if you want to come try things on, but that's totally welcome to that. They're here, of course, in the store in Montreal as well. But if you're not in the Montreal area, Toronto is our first stop, and we are so excited that Bruna and Maria from the Knitting Loft are hosting us. We are looking forward to having a really good time there.
Yeah, and so we'll be posting more about that coming up.
Yeah, so we'll have that on our calendar page on our, I think it's actually called classes on our site. Yeah, but like we put our special events there as well. And of course, we'll be posting that on Instagram, and of course the Loft will be as well. So maybe we'll get to see you there.
For that. Yes.
I think that's it. So I guess we can say Happy New Year. I know it feels a bit early for that, but we will see you in the new year. In the meantime, enjoy the season, enjoy your knitting, and we can't wait to see you in 2024.
Stay safe and cozy, and wishing you lots of lovely projects to fill your time with.
Bye.